Yeah, today's protest was sparked by the death of a 23-year-old primary school teacher in July, and she was found dead in a classroom in her own school in an apparent suicide after reportedly being abused by parents who could not stop complaining to the school about her and complaining directly to her as well. And teachers have been holding these vigils and demonstrations across the country every weekend since her death, calling for improved rights and also trying to understand under what circumstances, what led to this woman taking her life. And we saw some protests at the weekend. Reportedly 200,000 people participated. This culminated to a lot of teachers walking out today from their classrooms, taking leave and holidays to go to more demonstrations across the country. And in Seoul alone, there was a protest. I think it's still going on, where they report about 15 to 20,000 teachers that have attended. And some schools outright have temporarily closed today in order for the teachers to participate in the demonstrations.
Raphael, how common are these complaints of harassment and abuse against teachers?
So it's a complex problem because unfortunately there aren't many statistics that talk about this, but it's an increasing problem in South Korea. We hear a lot about students bullying among themselves, but we rarely hear about from the voices from the actual teachers who are facing an impossible situation where they are not only being abused by students, but also the parents who will, for example, call them up, call their mobile phones up and hurl abusive words at them, saying that they have no right to discipline their children who have been bullying at school, and that they will take legal actions against the teachers, causing great mental distress. And we are seeing more and more of these cases where teachers are saying that they simply do not have the capacity to run classrooms anymore because they have to deal with bullying in the class, but bullying from the students and then also from the parents who say that their children are being abused. They say it's child abuse, and there are an increasing number of claims against these against teachers that they are abusing the children, and they will take them to court. And these cases have risen significantly in the past few years.
You know, we've always seen reports over the years of just how intense the education system in South Korea is. You always see at exam time, enormous pressure on the students. The parents, of course, are so determined that their children get an excellent education to give them a good chance of a great job. Is this part of the problem?
Yeah, so I think this is a very complex problem. And it involves, I think it involves in part the teachers who say that they do not have enough rights in the classroom, but also, as you mentioned, it involves these parents who are keen to give the best education to their children. These children have to go through this nightmarish education system as young as the age of 2. They have to go to these like cram schools. The result of this hyper-competitive society and system means that in order to vent frustration, a lot of these children turn to bullying and pick on the children. And then in order to deal with the bullying, the teachers will have to discipline the children, and then after the parents get involved, and then legal cases get involved because parents do not want to have their children have disciplinary action on their school records or bullying records because it could affect their chances to get into a good university. So it's a vicious cycle of abusive students, but also abusive parents. And I think we're seeing that this is teachers have had enough, and this is spilled out onto the streets across the country in an unprecedented move.
Do you think it's going to be enough for the education system to examine itself and for the government to take this seriously?
The government says that he has vowed to take this seriously and to understand the points of views of the teachers and give them enough authority in the classrooms to take disciplinary action against students without having to suffer from legal consequences themselves. But I think a lot of teachers are saying that this is too little and it's not being done quick enough. They want results right now because they are saying today in the streets of Seoul that they do not want to see another of their colleagues dying. In the past few days alone, we've heard of another handful of cases of teachers that have apparently taken their lives. And of course, we don't know the exact circumstances, but it adds to a pattern of teachers who simply do not want to die any longer. And that was one of the messages at the protest today in Seoul.
Yeah, it sounds like an unbearable system that is now sort of collapsing under the weight. As you pointed out, there were schools that were closing. The schools themselves, how seriously do they take the complaints of these teachers?
I mean, I think it's a mixed message across. I mean, it's very mixed across different schools. I've spoken to some teachers who say that actually their schools are very supportive, and also parents are very supportive not to, annoy or frustrate teachers, and it depends on the environments. But then there are some cases where I've heard from teachers who say that their schools turn a blind eye to the problem and are not actually helping the teachers themselves. So some people are asking, for responsibility. Who is responsible for all of this? Is it the teachers? Is it the teacher bodies? Is it the educational bodies? And so I think there is a little bit of discord among teachers about the responsibility and how to take action against this problem. But I think there is a concerted message across the board and across the country that there is a serious problem. And what's interesting about this is that it goes beyond political lines. We often see rallies and protests across the country, and they're usually in some form or another very political or linked to one side or the other. But in this case, it goes beyond the political lines. And like I said, this is quite an unprecedented move to see so many teachers coming together. And, even today, essentially walking out of class. They did take leave, but essentially they are walking out of class to take this action together.
Yeah, quite unprecedented. Let's hope it is something of a breaking point. Great to talk, Rafael. Thanks so much.
Thank you.